John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Oh, is it great to be back in the United States of America. Ken Flo back on the East Coast as well in one piece.
Yes, sir.
Wearing his Van Halen t-shirt on a Tuesday. It's August 20th, 2024. Episode 506 of the Anik and Florian podcast. Thanks for being with us live. Few episodes is fun for us, obviously, as these pay-per-view recaps, and we are going to dive into all things UFC 305. But good to see you, buddy. Nice to see you, looking all handsome doing the ADCC there at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Not quite as far away as Perth, WA, but it's good to see you, buddy, and nice to see you on the sticks.
Thank you very much, man. Great to see you as always. And what a weekend, man, for combat sports. The ADCC was an absolute blast, and I think we're taking the sport to the next level yet again. But man, it's all about UFC 305. What a night.
I saw something that said that John Jones maybe got 50 racks to show up to the T-Mobile Arena. Did he get to shake the GOAT's hand or no?
I did not. I was stuck up there on a suite. So got a chance to talk about him, got a chance to see him on camera.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, well, I don't know if he was there to support Gordon Ryan, if that is true, if those Craig Jones kind of maybe perhaps spread rumors out there, but who knows? Yeah.
So my eyes look like maybe what somebody would look like if they did some really interesting recreational activities. My sleep schedule is so off. So at 10:30 last night, which would have been 10:30 a.m. Perth time, I'm ready to go. I mean, I was ready to run the streets of Boca Raton, Florida at 11 p.m. last night. I didn't because there are Florida Panthers. If you don't know, now you know. But it's great to be back. It is great to be back. And we're excited to talk about UFC 305. We will also be joined by UFC Welterweight Oban Elliott coming up in about 28 minutes.
Nice.
Also scheduled to join us, mixed martial arts analyst RJ Clifford, not necessarily a longtime believer in the still UFC middleweight champion, Dricus du Plessis, and he's certainly going to come on and give him his flowers and then some. So we got a lot to get into. Ray Longo potentially from Aruba coming up in 8 minutes if schedule holds. So a lot of things to get into. And then on the back end, Brian Petrie, because the UFC fights keep on coming. And for the gamblers, I know that's a very good thing. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Ken Flo, UFC 305. So how did you navigate this with your ADCC commentary commitments, kid? By the way, you like my shirt? Let's go, Dan Hooker, huh? Don't hunt what you can't kill. Cody Merrow trying to get fucking fired, tweeting about Mateusz Gamrot. Don't hunt what you can't kill. Top 5 for the Hangman, Dan Hooker. Sorry, Kenny, how did you navigate UFC 305 viewing with your ADCC commentary?
Yeah, well, first of all, that shirt was actually originally white. So that's just the shirt that you have worn to every Dan Hooker fight. So all the blood is splattered all over. That is actual blood, ladies and gentlemen. Hooker's a savage. Yeah. Listen, so after I was working the ADCC event, I went home. I got something to eat, went into my room, and laid down. My back was acting up. So I decided to watch the fights from my hotel bedroom.
So you watched it vertically, laying down.
Exactly.
Okay. So by yourself, right?
By myself,
right?
Yes, exactly.
How did we do on commentary? I watched the main event back. There was no bias either way. I gave the champion a ton of credit.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, dude. Yeah.
Phew.
Yeah.
But so tremendous main event. Obviously, it had a lot of ebb and flow. I'm always curious to get your take on the backside. And we don't always agree. And there was a lot to digest here. I thought there were 2 close rounds, 1 and 3. But Dricus du Plessis, finds a submission in round 4. The finish came together pretty quickly. Kenny Florian, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. I think a lot of those rounds were certainly close. I think Dricus just has the ability to really drag you into his game extremely well. He even has the ability to make you feel comfortable, and whether it's real or not, make you feel like you're winning. And I think a lot of those rounds, Izzy was looking very good and looking very comfortable, but then he goes ahead and starts kind of bringing that pressure, and little by little, that starts to break you down. It starts to gets you to doubt yourself a little bit, especially when you are doing quite well. You think you have him out of there, but you don't. He's extremely durable. That's a big component to his success. I'm not sure it's going to be a long-term method to victory over the course of many, many years. However, it is working. He just defeated what I believe to be, probably the best middleweight that I've ever seen compete. And it's amazing. Everything from his execution to his game plan, to his toughness, to his ability to just get you to fold is something to behold. And Dricus is a damn problem, man. He is a savage.
It's nice to hear you put Izzy in those terms, right? I think Anderson Silva is ubiquitously regarded as the greatest middleweight of all time, and we don't need to have that conversation right now, but Izzy's reign in the modern era and what he did when it comes to those 7 title fights inside of 20 months or whatever it was absolutely absurd. So the legacy building nature of this win for Dricus du Plessis should not be lost on anyone. And as we said on the broadcast, Ken Phil, you go Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya back to back to back like this. What else are you going to say, right? Yeah. Hall of Fame careers happen very quickly, and Dricus du Plessis was not a Hall of Famer before Saturday night. And I'm not even sitting here being suggestive that he is, but maybe I am, because he just finds a way to win. And, one thing that I kept reading and kept hearing when I would listen back to commentary is MMA offense through exhaustion. And gosh, man, like will to win, skill, of course, is a big part of it, but this man's desire, and something that I think is befitting of all South Africans for the most part, is a big part of this, Kenny. And I just think his fight IQ, his fight instincts, his high guard, his ability to fight through a body shot, this guy's a really, really impressive champion. And, this was probably, I think in a lot of respects, his toughest matchup, at least on paper.
There's no question about that. I mean, I think that's why I had Izzy winning this fight. I felt that technique would overcome some of the strengths that Dricus brings in there, which are a lot of physical strengths, right? But it was not to be. Dricus just brought too much pressure. And if you're going to beat Izzy, that's how you do it. Now, I thought Izzy showed some better footwork than he showed in the Strickland fight. Was he able to competently diffuse that pressure and counter Dricus the way I thought? No, he didn't. And I think that, I thought that he followed the right game plan. If Dricus was going to finish Izzy, it was going to be on the ground, in my opinion. Yes, does he hit hard? Yes, sure. Was it anything that Izzy hasn't seen before? No. And I thought that his best path to victory and his easiest path to victory was going to be on the ground. That's where we've seen Izzy most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not only with his submission game, but with his grounded pound. I think that that's how, that's what makes Dricus such a problem for a lot of people, because maybe he's not the most technical dude, but he does have various ways to beat you, and he does know how to adjust during a fight, and he's never going to be rattled in a fight. That is for sure. So moving forward, I don't see a hell of a lot of people beating Dricus du Plessis just based on matchups and what he's shown. Again, I just came away impressed as hell.
So many things that we want to get into when it comes to this main event, and we will pick the brain of one Ray Longo. So Mornay Visser, the head coach, has been working with Dricus du Plessis, I think 12 years, and just incredible what they have been able to accomplish. I want to do some round by round stuff as well, Kenny, but as far as this left leg offensively of Dricus du Plessis, I spent a lot of time with Dominic Cruz throughout the week, and he just kept talking about this left leg. And as commentators, you're trying to focus on the offense on both sides. But once again, just picking his spots, his left leg, useful. He has the heaviest fucking hands, man. You can tell every time you just greet the guy, he just hits hard. But what do you make about that left leg? And maybe us not talking enough about that as a singular weapon for the champion.
Well, I think, who knows if it's real or not, but according to Izzy, he didn't really feel like it was a major problem during the fight. He said, it was fast. He was kicking him. I don't know if it was really affecting him. However, I would say when I saw him working on that in training, when I saw Dricus du Plessis working on that in training, working that on the pads repeatedly, I thought that was a really smart approach. if you want to give yourself a better chance of beating Israel Adesanya, especially if you want to pressure him, well, you got to take away his footwork, especially in the form of that lateral footwork. Well, there's no better way to do that than taking out the lead leg. That is going to slow you down. That is going to make you a little bit more hesitant, cause you to maybe switch stances when you don't want to. So I thought that was a beautiful approach by the champion, Dricus du Plessis. So, who knows whether Izzy is being legit or not and saying that it wasn't effective against him. I would argue it probably was. And at the very least, it's effective in cutting off the cage. So props to Dricus and his team.
What about the ability to get a submission and to get it so quickly against a guy who had never been submitted before?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that has to do with people not really getting great position on Israel Adesanya. Sometimes we look into the stats and be like, oh my gosh, he's never been submitted before. He must be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt expert. Like, no, just no one's really got him into really compromising positions for too long. And why? Right. Because Adesanya knows how to build his base up really well. When he was going to build up his base, though, he did turn his back, right? And that's where Dricus was able to just like jump on that neck. I don't even know if it was really around the neck so much. I just think that, that South African strength of Dricus du Plessis just got the squeeze. And Adesanya's like, yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm good on this. Yeah.
We have these champions right now at 170 pounds and 185 pounds. And I don't know, it's intangible, but they just won't be denied, Kenny. And physical strength, I think, for both of them is a big part of it,
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, it's about Dricus du Plessis. I should have worn my Still Knock sweatshirt. Kenny, round one, both men had their moments.
Yeah.
If anybody has a problem with a scorecard on either side, I'm not sure what to tell you. Round two, I thought Dricus du Plessis' wrestling led the dance, as I suggested on broadcast. And round three, even though the numbers at one point had it in terms of these significant strikes, 36-15, du Plessis had a ton of moments in that round as well. So, people who want to get on a soapbox and talk scorecards after this fight, I'm not among them. And not for nothing, Dricus took the judges out of it anyway. But do you have anything for us on rounds 1 or 3? And I guess my opinion that Dricus still not getting enough credit from the masses for his striking.
Yeah, no, listen, he is effective. I think what throws everybody off, right, myself included, is the fact that it's not traditional. And when something's not traditional, it challenges our perspectives on what we have seen and what we know or have known to be true. And this goes across the board. And I also think that Dricus is at this point in his career where his chin, his durability, his toughness can lead the way and get him through a lot of those moments. And I think that his ability to rush you with blitzes and being off rhythm is something that can throw off even guys like Israel Adesanya. Now, we saw that with Sean Strickland. And yes, perhaps Adesanya was not as motivated or had an injury, whatever it was. A very traditional technical fighter will always have a problem with someone who's very unorthodox, especially if you don't have that kind of one-punch knockout countering ability. Israel doesn't necessarily have that. We've seen him do that against Pereira, right, at time, when he was knocking him out, but he let Pereira so into his domain where he was really risking his own chin as well. Didn't quite do that against Dricus. I don't think he should have, but he's not really that kind of a guy. And because of that, Dricus did match up extremely well against him. There were some really close rounds. And does it even matter? No, because Dricus went out there and got the finish. So it doesn't matter what kind of scorecard you had, who you thought was winning. Yeah. Dricus got it done. So, yeah.
Hey, Ray Longo.
Yes.
Let's go 3 wide. Live from Aruba. Sorry to keep you waiting. It got buried in the chat that you were with us. It's great to see you, brother. How we doing?
Very good. Very good. Sorry, let me just focus in here.
We missed you last week.
I'm listening to you, and I there's so much to unpack, but I think Kenny's doing a good job. But Kenny, I think you hit on the point. Like, I am, first of all, I love the guy. I think he's got a great attitude and stuff. But man, am I confused because the optics are something like I've never seen before. And the average guy that rushes in like that, he gets killed. He's going to pay for it. And like you say, even though Adesanya 100% is the more technical striker. Normally with that, I've seen it in gyms, like boxing gyms, where a guy's tough. It only lasts so long, though. He's eventually going to get caught by the better guy. This guy is so goddamn tough. And, John, you said it. He leads with, that toughness is really what's getting him through. I'm not seeing any technical thing, but it is the craziest thing to me. And I'm a huge fan of the guys. I think he stands for the right stuff. Everything's good. I thought Israel looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I did too. But wow, you just gave us a lot to unpack, huh? I mean, my God, I'm just going to sit back and let you guys talk. But
yeah, this could keep going on because here's the thing: Izzy wants to fight at his own pace. That's the first thing. If you look at the Romero fight, he's just going to do enough to get by. If you look at his other fights, he's always controlling the dance. He came out trying to do that, but this guy just wouldn't go away. Right? If he would have caught him in the second or third round, we would have said, this is great. He picked him apart. The guy looked horrible, blah, blah. The guy doesn't go away. That's the key. And when he had his chance on the ground, man, that he, I think at that point it was just fatigue because the guy's not fighting in his rhythm. He's fighting, he's trying to, but this guy's not letting him. You know what I mean? Look, Romero blitzes you too. He just doesn't. He doesn't want to take what's coming back half the times. You know what I mean? This guy took some shots, John. He took a beating.
I almost think that's what makes it worse, Ray. I almost feel like that's what makes it worse because you think you're like piecing this guy up and you're like, oh man, I got this guy in the back. And you're like, wait, he's not affected. And in fact, he's coming at me stronger and harder every single time. What the hell do I need to do against this guy? Then he starts finding some success, and that little snowball starts to roll down the hill, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know. Like I said I don't think it's a long-term play for Dricus, right? But
I can't see it. Right? I can't. Yeah. I mean, cannot see it. But
I'm not going to stand
John,
for this.
Tell you, I've been, and again, this is not from day one, like you remember even in the beginning fights where he was breathing heavy, it looked like he had no cardio. He's still getting it done. He was looking, remember those before he had his nose fixed or whatever, he said, no, I can't breathe. There was always something about him optically that told me, what am I even looking at? Like, and the guy's not losing. He keeps wearing people down and just breaking them. And I think that's what he did. But against a really good Adesanya came out of there really, like he went into that fight going, I'm going to piece this guy up and I'm 100% going to win. He looked like he had the right attitude. And like you say, Ken, you start hitting a guy and he's not going anywhere. And then you get hit with something that's so unorthodox and you feel like an idiot. Like the guy just hit me with something that I never even seen before. Yeah. But normally, again, a good guy catches you. You know what I mean? Like there was a guy like years ago, but the guy was horrible. I put him in, and my guy was a champion kickboxer. Like he does a spin back kick, hit him in the knee. He wasn't looking to hit him in the knee, but he hit him. He took the guy down. Like I'm like, this guy's horrible, but you don't know where the crap is landing, and before you know it, if you don't have the right mindset, you're just going, what the fuck is going on? So hats off to Dricus, man. I thought that was one of the craziest fights I ever saw. I think that was phenomenal. And I think what really made it phenomenal is I think we saw a good Izzy. But, going into the fight, look, I had picked Duplessis. I wasn't confident, but I had just said, last fight, with Izzy, I think, wasn't he like he got caught with a DWI before? Now the guy's got money. I think all of that stuff starts to play. Whether they want to say it or not.
Oh, God.
I'm sure he got a good pet. Where's this guy going?
I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin. I disagree with so much of what just came out of your mouth. And I don't even know where to begin. How's your vacation going, Ray?
No, good. Go. What you disagree with?
I mean, for starters, I don't, it's like, I feel like you guys both are like waiting for the other shoe to fall off and not being nearly complimentary enough about the mixed martial arts. And MMA is like a young sport. He's 33-0 as a kickboxer. Like, he Mornay Visser wishes he didn't kickbox because it made so many bad habits that they've tried to work out of here in MMA. But it's like, I don't know. I still feel like I'm writing down all these things. You say he's an average guy who rushed in, and the average guy who rushed in, almost suggested that it's only toughness.
Listen. No, let me explain it though. Not average, but John, it's something. And Kenny, you can only help me out with this if you want. I mean, I just never seen it before, John. Like I'm complimenting Chris.
Well, the sport just started, right? You know, but like
I'm just saying optically when I'm looking, it's hard for me to figure out.
But he fought Izzy on his best night, his most prepared, the most strengthened, conditioned version.
Yes, I'm saying that.
It's almost like, I know. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I sound like an apologist. You know, hey, I get off the air and people are saying I didn't give the guy enough fucking credit, you know, which I totally disagree with. But I don't know. I just feel like.
No,
go ahead.
The guy 100% won the fight. The guy looks like a great guy. The way he does it is just. I just look at it and go, holy crow, I can't believe what I'm looking at. Give me another guy we've seen like this.
Yeah, well, John, I'll ask you. So do you think it can be true that someone may not look great and still get a win?
Yeah, of course, but like
doesn't it happen in football all the time? Or
but like the optics, like I don't know what exactly we're sort of looking for exactly. I mean, Izzy's optics were great, right? 22 of 23 to the body and looking good doing it and all that. If anything, when I watched it back, I felt like maybe I didn't give Dricus enough credit for some of the body shots, but I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like the world gets caught watching one guy.
Yeah, listen, I think he did beat in Izzy the best Izzy that we've seen in a long time. There's
without a doubt.
But we also can't ignore the fact that, you know, durability and toughness is a big component to his success, and he should be applauded by that. Is that
without
something
100%?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of him doing that? No, it's probably not going to happen, nor maybe should it, right? Again, we've seen so many guys have awesome chins, and then all of a sudden they don't. Tony Ferguson, Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silva, all these guys. If you're going to get hit during fights, then you can't automatically have you're not going to have the longest of careers. It doesn't matter, though. You know, we're talking about Dricus du Plessis right now. I don't see a whole lot of great matchups for him. Like, I see him beating pretty much. I think he's going to beat Strickland worse. I think he'll go through Imavov. I don't think Hamzat is tough enough or has the conditioning or has proven to have that to beat someone like Dricus du Plessis. Like, I don't know. Like, I see that dude holding the belt for a little while, for sure. No question about it. I do think he's that tough. Like, when you put it all together, he's a problem, man. He's a big time problem.
No, John, I don't want you to take it the wrong way either, because I got to tell you, he might be my new favorite fighter. I mean, I love the guy. I'm just saying, when I'm looking at it, man, it's just unusual to me. And I'm sure if you're in there with him, but if Izzy's saying he didn't feel that kick, because I was agreeing when I was listening to you guys, everything this guy must do is just super hard. Definitely doesn't look super technical as opposed to what I'm used to. It doesn't mean that it's bad. I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I'm just trying to tell you when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is crazy to me.
I'm sure I took it
like that.
I'm sure I took it the wrong way. I guess I just feel like when it comes to his style and his chin or his ability to have a sustainable long-term championship run, it's almost like for him and Bilal, and for him even more so because he's beaten Whitaker and Adesanya and Sean Strickland, and Bilal maybe can't lay claim to wins over former champions like that, but it's almost like mission accomplished at this point in time. You beat the fucking best two middleweights of your era, one of them, if not both of them, in their prime. I don't know what else the guy needs to do. I mean, I can get 85, Kenny. It's so hard to have a long reign without a misstep, but Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, Cannonier, Yoel Romero, Anderson Silva, those are Izzy scalps, Strickland, obviously, Bo Nickel, Chimaev. These are the type of guys potentially that could be coming through the woodworks. It's an exciting time, but this dude, I don't know. It's a fun conversation, Raymond. I'm not trying to take it personally.
No, he blows my mind. That's why I say, like, when you say, like, you disagree, it's really, you could disagree, but I'm not really saying anything. I love the guy, man. What I saw was something that, like, it's new for me and it's refreshing.
So who's the comp then? If there's no comp for the guy, Kenny, like, who's the closest thing we've seen to, having some sort of a marauding style, because sometimes I think his what is it, like a bull in a china shop nature maybe makes us look away from some of the martial arts and maybe the method to Mornay Visser's madness. Everybody's getting upset that I'm giving out my Coach of the Year award in August. It's like,
I think Imavov might be an interesting matchup. He seems like he's coming into his own, but I don't know, man. I mean, the toughness that Dricus du Plessis is showing out there, the execution that he's showing out there, the toughness. I don't see anyone in the immediate future. You mentioned you mentioned Bo Nickel. I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of people just based on the fact that he might be the only one, or the first one anyway, to have a sustained takedown game against someone like DDP. But I don't know. I think that's still a ways away. And I think we still, need to find out more about Bo Nickel, but just from a stylistic matchup. But I don't know, man. I see DDP holding on to that belt for a little while. Sean Strickland's always going to be tough. The Whitakers and Khamzat Chimaev, all those, they're going to be tough, but they haven't proven to me what DDP has.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, I thought,
I think, yeah, go ahead, John.
Ray, I thought Izzy was going to beat Dricus. I thought Leon was going to beat Bilal. Full disclosure. So, I picked DDP. I wasn't like totally. I mean, I had to see what I had to see, but I thought DDP was going to win the Bilal fight. I thought because Edwards had just beat a couple of good wrestlers, that was going to be a significant part of that fight. But Bilal did a great job with the takedowns. But Bilal still is more of a traditional guy than DDP on all facets of the game, I think. So I don't know, man. It was just that. I was more bringing it up and not at all in the context of Bilal, more in the context of just how, man, I not that I doubted du Plessis, but I certainly didn't think that this was like the best matchup for him. That's all.
Right.
Well, you could see. Listen, if Israel would have stuck to just an in and out game and tried to pick him apart and not get caught up in, man, I'm hitting this guy, he's not going anywhere. Because normally when that's happening with my guys, let's just be happy hitting them. Don't try to do anything else. I mean, that's it. You can't go in there looking too hard for the knockout. He probably, there was bad blood going into that fight, and that could have played into it also, that he might have overtried. But to me, Adesanya was looking great. I thought he was looking really good. Yeah, the rounds were close, but like again, he looked really good to me. So I think like DDP beat a really good Adesanya, man, and the way he did it was absolutely phenomenal to me. I'm not taking nothing away from anybody. I don't even like being accused of that, because anybody that steps in that octagon has respect all the way. That's my only thing. I'm just saying, when I'm looking at it and I see a guy rushing around, and even his left kick, sometimes it looks labored, like it's telegraphical to me, but it might be a sledgehammer coming at you. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe you have to be in there,
if I were you guys, some weeks I would hate me on this program, and that's okay as the non-martial artist, right? But I do feel like, Izzy or Leon, I don't know that they're going to publicly acknowledge Bilal or DDP's power, but man, felt like DDP was landing some fucking lunch boxes.
Yeah. I mean, the dude is powerful. That's the one thing that stands out about him. And he always looks like he's in great shape, but he looked even better shape. This was the best shape I've seen Dricus. And even, Izzy was saying something about him looking nervous coming out. I was like, I did not see that at all. DDP looked rocked and ready. When I saw his eyes out there, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. After round one, he just smiled at DC, like it was nothing.
That's always the worst thing to do. They said Strickland looked nervous coming out for Izzy too. I hate when I fall into that too. I hate when people tell me that when my guy's going out, I saw the other guy, he's looking nervous. That's always like a death sentence to me. I go, oh my God, that's not good. He's, this guy, it's just, it's like, it's the reverse. But I mean, there was a book. Look, these South Africans, the one thing they're fucking tough, man.
Yeah.
That's one thing. There was I think, and I could be totally wrong in this, but there was a book years ago called The Power of One. I think they made a movie out of it, but just in reading the book, the training they go through and the fucking, the beatings they get, they're just tough, man. And I'm saying toughness was the biggest thing in this fight to me. This guy took it. He gave it. He wasn't going away. I don't know. It just, that's it's almost like the, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. Like, Izzy was the talented guy, and I'm sure he did work hard, but this motherfucker is just tough. He's a big, strong South African, and he had to take a lot to win that fight. It wasn't like he was, slipping punches and looking slick and, out jabbing the guy. Yeah, he landed punches, and you're probably right, John. He's probably got cinder blocks in his hands and legs. Who the hell knows? But
Duplessis is one of those guys, Ray, that when he says he's willing to die in the cage to get the win, he absolutely means it.
Without a doubt.
And a lot of people say it, very few mean it. He means it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got something. He's got an intangible that's really, and I kind of agree with Kenny. I don't know if it's a durability thing, but he's already been can you keep your head in the screen? You're killing me over there. But yeah, no. Listen, great fight. Like, again, I think he's my new favorite fighter. This guy, I think, and I love the way he talks. I think he's respectful. I think he handled all the pre-fight bullshit like a total gentleman. I think he handled the victory like a total gentleman. I think he's a nice guy, and I only wish the guy the best, man. There's nothing.
Yeah. No, all class.
God's honest truth. Yeah,
on both sides, and all class and victory for Dricus du Plessis. All right, Raymond, we got UFC Welterweight Oban Elliott coming up here in a few minutes. I want to get you out of here on this if I could. And Kenny and Cody look alive out there for this one. So I ran into a Minuteman at the hotel bar after the fights, okay? One of Ray Longo's Minutemen, okay? So I explained to my colleague Megan O'Leary what a Minuteman was. Yeah, Cody's writing in the comments, oh, Jesus, because he knows what a fucking Minuteman is, okay? So I want everyone on the show right now to define to me what a fucking Minuteman is, okay? So Ray Longo has his cronies. That's your only hint, right? Ray Longo has his Minutemen, his blind supporters. Do I need any more hints? So, Cody, hopefully your mic's fucking hot, okay? And hopefully the children aren't watching live, okay? Ray, do you know what a Minuteman is? Do you know exactly what we mean when we describe your Minutemen?
No, but I mean, I could come up with a couple of things.
All right, what do you think? What do you think?
No, you tell me. I don't know. I mean, the original thought was, just because it was the Ray Longo Minute, we came up with it because it sounded good. But
Cody, do you have anything? No.
Well, if somebody gasses out, they blow their load, right?
I don't know.
Early.
So,
Minutemen. Ray gets it.
That's just not my style comedy. Kenny, do you know what a Minuteman is as far as I was concerned, it was the people who fast forwarded to the Ray Longo Minute and didn't listen to the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's the hardcore supporters of Mr. Ray Longo.
Yeah. Who don't like when I go at Ray. So today, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect you and suggest that you weren't giving DDP his flowers, No,
I don't. Look, I was trying to get as much in as possible in as short a period of time. And it could have came out that way, but I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of the guy.
Yeah.
I just say, just not a traditional striker that I'm used to, and it's hard for me sometimes when I'm looking at him. Go, what am I looking at? Like again, Izzy looked like the technician in there, and sometimes that's just not good enough. This guy's tough, and whatever he lacks in one area, he makes up triple in another area, and that's why he's successful. But to look at him and go, wow, I like his head movement. I like his footwork. I got you. You see what I'm saying? Like that. That's all I'm saying. It's like,
I will say this in defense of Mr. Dricus du Plessis, and it's this: is that if you're not more technical, then you have to make it about physicality. And if the other person is able to make it about physicality, then that probably means he's not technical enough to beat him, or didn't have enough technique to beat him. Is that fair?
I think that's fair too. But and again, please, Dricus, if you're listening, you're phenomenal. Hats off, unbelievable. It's almost like, remember Elias Theodoro?
Of course, the late great.
Very unorthodox. I remember he came to work with me. I go, dude, I don't want to change anything. You're winning like this.
Right.
I felt if we changed it, you know what I mean? Like it would make him worse. And I think Dricus, listen. He got him to the dance. He's the champion. He's got to keep doing what he's doing until it doesn't work anymore. And he's already had a great run. He's already a a legend right now. He really is. South Africa.
And he certainly doesn't listen, and he certainly doesn't classify you as one of his haters. And rest assured, Raymond,
no, definitely
I got far
not.
more haters than you. Don't be so worried about it. We love you. We got Oban Elliott. We got to go. And by the way, tell your Minutemen, if they come up to me and say, hey, I'm one of the Minutemen, like, don't ask for a fucking picture after, you know? Like, I want you to listen to the whole show. You know?
I love it. John chose violence today.
I love it. Minutemen, you keep doing what you're doing. And
yeah, there you go. There you
ask them for 2 pictures next time.
Ha! No, I love the fans. I do, especially the Aussies, and more on that on the back end of the show. Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. Thank you, Ray.
Right.
All right.
Love you, buddy. Love you, buddy.
And John, always disagree, please. I mean, that's what.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking to make friends at this stage of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, but DDP, congratulations. Please don't take anything the wrong way. Keep doing what you're doing, baby. Look great. You're my new favorite fighter. Let's fucking go.
Thank you, Ray. Love you. Love you. Not looking for new friends. Except this guy, little handsome in the room with us on the guest line. You got to call him one of the best up-and-coming welterweight prospects in the UFC, I would think. The Welsh gangster, Oban Elliott, with us live. Appreciative to have a few minutes of your afternoon, my man. How we doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me on, boys. It's a big honor. Thank you for that introduction, John. That's it means a lot.
Pleasure, man. You talking about the handsome part or the rest?
Both. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, yeah. But yeah, I already knew I was handsome, but the top welterweight prospect in the UFC, that means a lot. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, because not that long ago you were 1-0 in the UFC, and now you're not only 2-0 in the UFC, but you know, another win on a numbered card, and this Preston Parsons project is an interesting challenge. So to pass it the way you did, I know impressed Kenny and impressed me. So congratulations, man. About a month or a few weeks removed. How has life been since the W?
I mean, yeah, it's surreal. All of it feels surreal at times. Like, you know, I felt so comfortable in there, John. You know what I mean? Being in that cage and taking in that crowd, because it was full. You were there. There weren't a seat empty at the time I was fighting, which I didn't expect. So seeing that, it felt like I was like a main event. You know what I mean? I could have been a main event easily. So to have that atmosphere, to feel so comfortable in there, you know, I was talking to him, to Preston in the cage. I felt really good in there. So just like, yeah, doing everything I can to be present in the moment and enjoy what I've just done, you know. Before I go, should I flip my phone?
There we go.
Is that better?
Ooh,
yeah.
Look at that.
We got more of you.
Because I saw Ray then, and I seen you when Ray was in it. He was in
yeah.
You were split 3 ways, so I thought I was meant to do that. Sorry, boys.
No, you're good.
But yeah, it's mad. It's mad, boys. It's a long time coming. Like a year ago today, I was in Las Vegas for the Contender Series, where this was all just one big idea that I was trying to turn into reality. You know what I mean? And you fast forward a year, it's berserk.
It's a great feeling, isn't it, man? Well, congratulations, man. You're on a 7-fight win streak, man. So I guess like your second fight in UFC, how would you compare that to your first? As far as feelings, right?
Yeah, feelings. It was just like a spa. Just felt like a spa. Walking out, because I was in a hotel with a lot of boys that I'm familiar with, that I know. I was in Manchester, like, you know, when I got to the arena, and you know, like Bob the Cut Man was there, like he wrapped my hands in my amateur fight, so it was all just so familiar. And then when I was warming up, I was battling with a bit of imposter syndrome the first time I fought, I think, in the UFC. I was thinking, fuck, am I really gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this time I knew what I was gonna go out there and do. I was just like, it's funny because we were watching Rocky 4 on the Thursday night, and we were like, yeah, just look at Rocky just walking out there, just talking to him like he's nothing. And we were walking out just talking, and I was like, it's just like Rocky 4. And then with Coach Carl was going, no pain, no pain. And then we just went, yeah.
Watching Rocky before a fight, that's like a performance-enhancing drug, man.
It was on. So we got IT. I don't know what you have over there. What would it be? It's like the free channels. So I was cutting weight. I was just about to cut weight the next day. I was starving. I couldn't sleep, and I was flicking through the channels. ITV4, and I saw Rocky 4. It was just at the bit where he's in the mountains training. I was like, oh. Yeah, I got all fired up again. Yeah, it feels good, and I just can't wait to. I can't wait to see what's next now. Hopefully I get that a big show next time now on a big card.
Well, more on that in a moment. Oban Elliott with us here live on the Anik and Florian podcast on Instagram. You can find him at Oban Elliott. So your last loss, I hope I can pronounce this right, Matters Flaminas or something like that. Cage Warriors 131, round 2 TKO. What can you tell us about that time in your life or that fight or the preparation or the lead up to that fight and what has allowed you then to reel off 7 straight wins since then?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, that one was, because there was no excuses going in, but I'd had a year off with illness. I had this heart condition that they were trying to figure out how to clear me to ever fight again. Right, and I was conflicted in the sense of I didn't know like how my cardio was going to be. I didn't know. There was a lot of unknowns, and to that point in my career, I'd only ever really won in the first round or the second round. And the fight before the Flaminas fight, I won it with a first round knockout. They still play that. That was my last knockout. And after that happened, I thought, well, if I just put it on whoever I'm fighting, if I just put it on him and crack him, I should hurt him. And then that Flaminas fight, I hit him in the first round. I hurt him. But I wasn't just fighting another 20-something-year-old. I was 23. I was fighting a 33-year-old man with triple my fights. He's been in the wars. He's fought for the Cage Warriors world title. So when I hit him, I just thought, here we go again. The crowd was going mad in London. I just went for him. And he didn't go away. I remember thinking, oh, fuck. This wasn't meant to happen. And then he caught me in the guillotine, and in the end of the last round, I somehow survived that. But then I was gone. Then I was absolutely gassed, kind of like a McGregor Diaz one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then the fight after that, I thought, well, I'm never doing that again. I know much better than that. What the fuck am I doing? They were on about me going on the Contenders, going on UFC London if I beat that Flaminas. So I was like, I've got to get that. I've got to go out there and finish him and do something spectacular. Didn't work, and then I was back to the bottom of the barrel. And I was written off by everybody locally, And then I got a quick first round finish in the first fight back, and then every fight after that, then I just kind of took my time. I didn't want to make that same mistake. That fight still haunts me today. It's weird. It's in a good way.
Sorry for bringing it up.
Sorry. Oh, no. In a good way when I'm in the cage.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, don't go too quick here because you know what I mean? You know better than that now. You know what I mean? So I think that's why I've had so many decisions lately, because I'm I'm still proving it to myself that I'm not going to gas. And now, that last fight in particular, I watched it back, and as good as I fought, I looked at it and go, right, I can go hunting a man down now. You know what I mean? I believe in myself to do that. You know what I mean? It's weird though. You have that one little slip up, and it always lingers in the back of your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, we're all excited about you, to be sure. Oban Elliott 2-0 in the UFC, and I forget what DC asked you in Octagon as the final question, but I will never forget your response, because you basically said, "Doesn't fucking matter. I'm 2-0 in the UFC, my man." So your question doesn't really matter. So now that actually, before I go there, your ability to work a microphone. I mean, I know Chael Sonnen is iconic to you, and rightfully so. He's a master orator. I mean, even if maybe some of his stuff is more pre-written than I would like, his ability to execute on a microphone on live TV is truly special. And the comedic value is very, very high. Have you always been someone who knew his way around a mic, or was that something that you knew you kind of needed to develop?
It wasn't something that I know I needed to develop. I'll be honest with you. It was always something I wanted to do, and whether or not if that's the way the sport was going, I'd still do it, because I was a massive wrestling fan growing up. Yeah, the Ric Flairs, the Hulk Hogan's, the CM Punks, all the promos that they cut. And I remember my first post-fight interview, I was 21, and I said, "Send anyone you want, just don't send anyone you want back." And look down the lens, right? And I thought I never had one. I didn't have one for years after that. And then, I just love it. I don't know.
Yeah,
and it's perfect because it's on the spot. I didn't plan any of that with DC, that undefeated, undisputed thing.
Right, yeah.
I honestly don't know where, I was just, it just come there. I'm glad it did.
It's great.
Glad it did. So
talk to me about either the rest of 2024. I'd imagine, I think maybe You've mentioned either Madison Square Garden. Seems like they like to feature you on these numbered card, which is very exciting for me. So what can you tell us about the rest of the year? And any idea, either a name or the type of opposition that you think is going to show up in your bracket?
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I hope to God it's Madison Square Garden. That's when I'll be ready. And I've already spoke to the UFC, and don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but I am hoping that is the timeline and it falls on that date. You know what I mean? So, and as far as a name, I always wanted to ask you boys this, because I don't know where they're going to go with me. What do you think? Are they going to test me again to try and get a finish out of me? Are they going to pull me back in? I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I feel like I fight to the level of my opposition. So
yeah,
I'm not really concerned who they chuck me in there with. I genuinely believe the biggest battle as far as being a UFC fighter is concerned is getting my head around the fact I'm in the UFC. Because for me, Kenny, I was watching you when I was younger. I thought you were an absolute icon growing up. So I've been a fan for such a big majority of my life, and now I'm only just in a couple of days' time. It'll be a year where I've been signed, so I'm still in that transition period, and I feel like I'm doing pretty well considering that. So I'm not really concerned who they give me, because I think I'll make a show of it no matter what it is, especially in MSG.
Absolutely,
the home of the mob.
What the heck do I know? But I think you're at that point of your career where they're going to challenge you against other guys that are in and around your experience level still. So 2-3 fights where they're trying to figure out what's Oban Elliott all about. And then as you progress, then they start giving you the more experienced names. I think it's typically how it's done. But, man, I mean, you deserve to be there. You've proved it. And keep at it, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's interesting, man. You're in a good spot. Obviously, they've put you on 2 numbered cards, which I think is a good sign because those slots are always very thoughtfully considered. Dominic Cruz always likes to say, they try to test you methodically with different stylistic challenges en route to contention and becoming the champion. I know you've said repeatedly, throughout your whole career, guys are shooting at your fucking legs. You were an underdog against Preston Parsons, right? So, maybe it's a striker that shows up this time around. I think for you, it's really just about focusing on dates as much as you can control the dates, right? And, here's the pitch for Madison Square Garden. That would be my advice. But as far as names, I think Kenny's right. It would probably, but you never know, dude. All of a sudden it could be, right? Like my producer's suggesting Max Griffin and Gunnar Nelson. You never know when it could be a super experienced guy as opposed to somebody that's a little bit greener, Yeah.
So. Yeah. The greener guy, I mean, on the Contender Series, for example, I thought that Brazilian was double my fights, all finishes. That didn't make a difference. You know what I mean? I didn't think too much of it. So there's boys with a lot of fights. They've got less fights, but as you say, I'm more concerned about getting my foot in the door and then big cards and showing the world who I am. And I think MSG, the home of the mob, the Welsh gangster.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
what other European are they going to put there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll fly the flag for Europe there and that's what I'm focused on. I don't really know who they're going to give me. Really.
Well, congratulations on a tremendous start to your UFC career, and just the way you handled that last fight was really, really impressive. So we look forward to seeing you showcase at least once more this year. You can follow this man at Oban Elliott, and we're excited for your welterweight future, brother. Anything else that you wanted to shout out before we let you fly and get to the rest of your afternoon?
Just thank you, boys, for being so kind. I know you're only calling it as it is. You wouldn't bullshit me, but it means a lot to get the praise from boys like yourselves. It's journeys. It means a world to me. So just thank you for having me on and always praising me like you do. Thank you very much,
my man. Our pleasure. Much love. Look forward to crossing your wake soon, brother. Have a good rest of your day. Oban Elliott with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. Cody Merrill playing matchmaker, throwing Phil Rowe out there. A lot of good matchups for the man Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster, with us here live on the Anik and Florian podcast. I'm kind of feeling bad, like I wasn't nice to you and Ray. I just get a little bit fired up sometimes. I mean, in terms of DDP and the hardest worker in the room, one thing he said in the fighter meeting, and you may or may not have heard me say this on the broadcast, but before he became the champion, he was the hardest worker in the room, right? Hardest worker in the gym. But once he became the champion, Kenny, he said unequivocally, like, I can't not be that guy. Like, it can't even be in question. And he said that in response to me asking him about the whole Teddy Atlas thing. When you become the champion, do you level up 20 to 30%? And immediately he just talked about the work. Like, all right, I've always been the hardest worker in the gym, but now, like, I'm even going to go up 2.5 to 5% because I can't afford to have Cameron Simon, who works his fucking tail off, be maybe the hardest worker in the room.
Right. Well, that's clear. You could tell just the way he talks about the fight game, the way he talks about his preparation. He wouldn't be at where he's at unless he was the hardest worker in the room. I expect that to get even more intense. The dude's a special guy. And not to mention, with everything he's accomplished, he has always been a complete class act, dude. So, yeah. And in regards to you, man, always give your opinion. I love hearing it. And I think we agree a lot more than we disagree.
No doubt. No doubt. We disagree with Ray.
Yeah.
We disagree with Ray. Yeah.
Us versus New York. Let's go.
Yeah. And I'm just having fun with the Minutemen. And that gentleman who, of course, I met, very, very gracious, just having a little bit of fun. Hopefully you don't think it's at your expense. So I still want to stay on this main event in this middleweight division if I could for a little bit. And there are a lot of amazing contenders right now. Part of the reason why I even put Izzy in the stratosphere of Anderson Silva is his strength of schedule and this era of middleweight. And maybe I think highlier or in more glorified terms than you do the average man out there of Marvin Vettori, for example, a guy that Izzy has 2 wins over. How are you going to get that fucking blockhead out of there, right? So, Kenny, if you had to, do you know what a dingo is, by the way? I just found out in Australia. I had no idea.
A dingo, isn't it like a small looking kangaroo kind of?
It's a wild fucking dog, Kenny.
Oh, God.
See, in New England,
I was thinking of wallaby. I was thinking about wallaby.
Us New Englanders, us fucking Bostonians don't know dingoes. I mean,
wild dog. Yeah.
All right. So to save a dingo's life, what middleweight are you sending in there to beat Dricus du Plessis? Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Nassourdini Mavov, Khamzat Chimaev, Brendan Allen. You can have anybody you want, Kenny, but the dingo's sitting there, and the dingo is potentially going to get put down if you don't send the right middleweight in there. So who do you think has the best chance to beat this other fucking blockhead, the middleweight champion, Dricus du Plessis?
Dingo, what the heck? I don't know, dude. This is tough. I'm looking at the list right now. I can't.
Just give me one. Do you want me to start? I mean, I got to call the guy's next fight.
How about a battle bot? That's the only thing I got. A fucking robot. Gosh, out of all these guys right now, there's no one.
I'm not sure you don't send Izzy back in there, which is part of the reason I asked the question.
Well, here's the thing. I actually think he might do better against Izzy the second time around.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, man. Honestly, Imavov is interesting to me just because I do feel he's coming into his own. Am I confident I'm going to save that dingo's life? I'll be honest with you. No. Like, right now, I don't know. Khamzat Chimaev early might be really interesting. First 10 minutes, he'll be a problem, but I don't think he gets him out of there, man. I think DDP comes back and destroys in the last couple rounds. Honestly. Are
you chewing gum on the Anik and Florian podcast today? Is that what we're doing? I mean, no, you can. You don't know. You don't even have to spit it out. It actually makes your teeth look whiter. Don't fucking spit it out at this point. Big Ron likes to do the program with a red lighter in his right hand, and we don't begrudge him for that. Do you want to know my answer to this question or no?
What do you got?
Cody said Paulo Costa. My answer was very quick in my own head.
Cody, get out of here with Paulo Costa.
Robert Whittaker, rematch from UFC 290. Robert Whittaker in current form. Robert Whittaker ever evolving. Robert Whittaker not going to fight much past 36, 37 years old. Robert Whittaker would be the answer for me. Now, Izzy fought great, and I would like to get your thoughts, if I could, on rounds 1 and 3 a little bit. I mean, did you have Izzy up 2-1? 2 of the 3 judges had Dricus du Plessis up 2-1. Again, I have no issue. There's only one man who could have been up 3-0. And I know some fans are going to maybe go to a different MMA show because I said that, right? Only one guy could have been up 3-0 as far as I'm concerned. It's DDP. I had it, I think, Izzy 2-1. Yeah. But, I mean, 1 and 3, both guys had their moments despite that 36-15. Go watch round 3. I'm telling you.
Right. I mean, I thought, again, and this is perhaps I'm biased. I had Izzy as well, in those rounds, but like it was close. Third round, I wasn't confident. You know what I mean? Like first round, I thought Izzy did enough. But I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, that takedown at the, I don't know.
Yeah.
God.
No, it's tough. It's the greatest sport in the world. It's an amazing sport.
Well, especially given that what was going on that night with some of the judges, I was like, you can throw a lot of the, who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Anyways.
But no, I mean, you and I both had Izzy up 2-1. Now your scorecard of more value than mine because I got a lot of other things going on. Toyo Tire's official tire of the UFC. Protein snacks and everything else. Cody, I'm not going to touch on that judge right now. There's way too much to get into. I love you though. Howie Booth, I think is his name. Relieved of his duties. All right, so we'll see what happens. But for me, Whitaker is cannonball coming. Khamzat Chimaev is going to fight Robert Whitaker at UFC 308 in October. And the winner of that fight is going to factor prominently in this equation. Dana White was pretty committal about Sean Strickland being next. I think anyone who listens to this show knows that after Strickland beat Costa, not that he takes my instructions, but I think he needs to wait for the title shot. And it seems like he's going to get it, which would mean there's sort of a little bit of a log jam there. But yeah, I think Whitaker is probably the guy that I think maybe has the best chance in current form to beat Duplessis, but he's got a huge challenge in front of him against Khamzat Chimaev. Real quick, who is next for Israel Adesanya, Kenny? So I asked DC this question on pay-per-view, and he couldn't even necessarily come up with a name right away. We've thrown it out there to the masses. Khamzat Chimaev makes some sense. I know Leon Edwards and Izzy are not in the same division. I know they are friends. I think there's some management crossover there as well. Leon moving up to 85 without an obvious fight to take on Izzy has some appeal for me. I couldn't come up with an obvious next in line for Izzy, who now has had 12 successive UFC championship fights and probably won't have 13. So what do you think about the future for Adesanya in terms of opponent?
Well, I'm not sure Jack Hermanson has a date. That I don't know if that gets people, uber excited. What is Brendan Allen? Thank you. Is it Allen and Vittori that are going at it?
Brendan Allen and Nassourdini Mavov are fighting September 28th in Paris, France.
Oh shit!
I mean, you're brave. Come on, don't make me have fun at the Joker Jack Hermanson's expense, but you really think that that's the type of fight that
no, well, I just based on that, he's beaten a lot of these guys, so it's like a lot of them are kind of canceled. What are we going to put Whitaker in there for the fourth time? I guess we got Imavov and Brendan Allen, the winner of that. Why not?
No, I think a Brendan Allen Israel Adesanya fight makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I really do. Caio Borralho is fighting Jared Cannonier this weekend. I think a Borralho Izzy fight potentially makes some sense. RJ Clifford is going to join us in 3 minutes, and he has a fight that he thinks makes a shit ton of sense, even if it may surprise some people. It's a very interesting conversation. Nothing more fun than playing matchmaker on a Tuesday afternoon. But it is very interesting because there isn't necessarily an obvious next in line.
Yeah, can I just say I almost choked on my gum during that segment, so I almost died.
Yeah, so maybe you should spit it out.
Yeah.
Maybe go Benson Henderson and get a toothpick, Maybe go get your fucking Jack Hermanson t-shirt. Go get your fucking Jack Hermanson t-shirt.
Might have been my worst moment on the podcast.
Izzy's like, Izzy's like the biggest superstar in the sport. I mean, hey, Jack listens every week, and I imagine he's very excited that you're, trying to lay the foundation for him to fight.
I'm trying.
And I will say too, as far as Alex Pereira is concerned, guy can make 85. He didn't move up to 205 because he couldn't make the weight, despite maybe what publicly some would want you to or lead you to believe. So don't put it past him at some point. Gosh, we have so much to discuss. Kenny, what time do you have to leave today? I mean, Khalil Roundtree Jr. is fighting Alex Pereira for the championship in Salt Lake City. Dude, I mean, how much time do you have?
This podcast, I got the whole afternoon.
All right. I mean, I promised you, at least rundown wise, that you'd be out of here at 1:20. But Cody, anytime RJ's here, Randall Clifford, you can just populate him in the chat. But so many different interesting things as far as the UFC's middleweight division, and obviously a good opportunity for Caio Borralho taking on the 40-year-old Jared Cannonier, who, of course, still has title aspirations of his own. Nassourdini Mavov, though, the guy that Kenny thrice, I think, has referenced right now, is a problem for Cannonier because he beat him head-to-head in Louisville. And now, if he beats Brendan Allen, that would be a guy who would be in the way. All right, now joining us, good friend of mine, really an MMA brain that I like to pick, far sharper than mine. mixed martial arts expert, former professional fighter, wrestler, tremendous pundit, all around good human being, father of the year, RJ Clifford. Randall, it's great to fucking see you, buddy. How's your Tuesday?
I need to have you introduce me when I get home to the wife. Normally, I need her to realize like what I am, because I get home 30 hours. You know, you had a longer trip, right? You're going all the way to Florida from LAX, right? After going all the way around the world. I come home exhausted. She's like, "Oh, here's your list of chores. The kid's yours now."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Babe, Anik knows all about me. You got to learn."
Well, and right, to show you, and maybe I should have more ambition or competitive spirit, but I have campaigned for RJ to be, my successor as the UFC lead play-by-play voice. That's how good I think this man can be. I really would love to see you get a shot, my man. But enough about that for a second, and I'll fluff you on the way out as well. But you and Kenny obviously have worked together in the past, so I'd like to be able to realign you guys when I can as well. So, all right, Randall.
Always.
You were cracking me up in the airport lounge. So, we had a spirited conversation with Ray Longo earlier today. You have not necessarily been a longtime supporter of Dricus du Plessis, at least as far as the aesthetic, and the results maybe sometimes have surprised you. So what can you tell us about your past, present, and future when it comes to the still UFC middleweight champion?
Well, I don't think I'm unlike a lot of other MMA analysts that just look at him and makes your eyes want to bleed watching him technically, but it's just so goddamn effective. And I think that's the beauty of combat sports is, look, it doesn't have to be exactly how it's supposed to be taught. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be fluid. It doesn't even have to technically even be a move. But if it works, it works. And that's really all that matters. I mean, like, I think that's why, when you get so unorthodox and you have like a pretty counter fighter like Israel Adesanya, the more unorthodox you are, the more it throws them off. Like, Kenny, I can't imagine you've ever had a guy hold mitts for you that attacked you the way that Dricus du Plessis did. Like, You've never had to drill counters to a charging rhino. So like,
exactly,
you're gonna get thrown off, right? Like, how do you counter that? And with all due respect to our good friend Dean Thomas, who was just eviscerating Izzy on the ESPN post show, I was like, I thought Izzy looked fantastic, but Dean's saying like, well, why isn't he countering? He wins by staying in the pocket and slip and go. It's like, how do you slip a charging rhino? Like, it's a wrecking ball. You have to stay at distance. So I thought Izzy looked absolutely fantastic, and it was Dricus just being as Dricus he can get.
Yeah, and it's always easier said than done, right? And I also think that Dricus is so good about making it oftentimes about physicality, and he brings those physical strengths, his durability. So I guess my question for you is, and I have my doubts, right? But is this a long-term plan? Can he be successful 3, 4, 5 years into the future with this kind of style, do you think?
Well, it's gotten him this far, right? 24 fights fighting this way. He's only 30 years old.
Right.
And he really hasn't taken tons of damage. I mean, the guy's a 2-division champion in the UFC. He was a KSW champion. He's still like, not in a ton of wars, right? He's been knocked out before very early in his career. And him and Sean Strickland obviously went 25 minutes, but he got Brunson out of there in 2 rounds. He got Whitaker out of there in 2 rounds. I mean, it's, as you know, Ken, it's not the years, it's the miles. And he's got a fighting style that it just works perfectly for him, and it hasn't slowed him down yet. So, I mean, if we start seeing him being, like Whitaker and Yoel Romero, a couple 25 rounders, I might have a different conversation here. But for now, it's working because he hasn't taken any damage.
We were just talking about who we think might be an interesting challenge for him, for a guy that could beat him. Do you have a name that comes to mind that you think could be able to beat someone like Dricus du Plessis?
No, and I was just having this conversation on my show yesterday where, like, look, he's already beaten 1, 2, and 3 in the division, and whoever comes up next, like, he's gonna be a decent betting favorite against probably Strickland. It seems like that the rematch is going to be next, and then maybe Izzy down the line, and then some version of a rematch with Whitaker, Hamzat Chimaev, Brendan Allen's obviously on that tail. Like, he's going to be a betting favorite against all these guys, and he'll be under 33 for all of them. Like, he's staring down a real possibility in the next 18 to 24 months. We're calling him the second best middleweight of all time behind Anderson Silva, just because the challenges that are up for him are good names and well-accomplished fighters, but stylistically, maybe I'm just, I can look back, 6 months from now and Strickland beats him, I sound like an idiot, but from where I sit now on August 20th, 2024, He's looking at some big names that he should be favorites against.
Okay, I agree. I don't see a middleweight right now that it's going to be a big challenge. But I'll get you out with this. This is my last question. Are you excited about a potential matchup against Pereira? Is that something you'd want to see?
Yes.
Okay.
But I just can't imagine him just not blast doubling Pereira at will whenever. Like he'd probably be a 2-1 favorite against Alex Pereira. I don't make the lines, but just watching him blast double Izzy everywhere, and then Izzy out wrestled Alex Pereira and got the only takedown of his career against Alex. I mean, I'm sure Alex has been working on it ever since, but the fun fight I'd wish that fight to be, I think Dricus just puts on his wrestling shoes and singlet and takes care of business.
Well, I just hope if Sean Strickland outpoints Dricus du Plessis in his second title defense, that this last 3-fight stretch of his historically doesn't get lost on people, because I think, RJ, that 85 is so strong that, you can suggest that maybe he'd be 2-1 over Alex. I think him and Strickland is probably pretty close to even money, as would maybe an Adesanya rematch be, unless you think I'm off on that. Maybe he'd be 2-1 against Whitaker, but that might be the guy that I would send in there. I think so highly of all of the middleweights of his era that I'm not sure he can reign for a long time just because one of these guys might beat him. But it sounds like people that are sharper than me, like you and Kenny and maybe even Ray, just feel like this win maybe is going to propel him to an even greater level. I don't know.
Well, and also maybe it's me kind of like trying to make up for how little I appreciate what he was doing for a while. Like when he was booked against Robert Whitaker, I'm like, this is as easy of a slam dunk as exists in picking fights. Like Whitaker does not lose to anybody not named Israel Adesanya. Just watching him just lunge forward, jaw open, I'm like, Whitaker's going to do what he wants, and he ends him in 7 minutes. And it's like, I don't know anything about MMA. I don't know the sport whatsoever. But he just has a style that works for him, and no one trains it. You can't learn. Like I used to always say, when Dominic Cruz was at his peak, right?
Yes.
When he was just crushing it, and he was one of the best strikers of all time, best strikers in MMA. If I was training somebody, I would never train him to strike like Dominic Cruz, because it's just so very him. It's so layered. The fundamentals you have to learn when you're getting started, he's just so advanced beyond that. You would never train anyone to fight like Dricus. You should take they don't give licenses for MMA trainers, but you should have it taken away and burnt if you were teaching someone to fight like Dricus. But his style is all its own, and it's hasn't been stopped in the UFC.
Yeah. I said earlier, his coach wished that he hadn't been a pro kickboxer 33 times over, because he had to train him out of a lot of habits that Mornay doesn't think are great for MMA. I don't know if you have anything on that, Randall. I don't know. I just feel like Dominic Cruz, even though he was perpetually misunderstood, wasn't banged on as much as this guy is banged on. I don't know.
Does he? I think he just makes him stronger, though.
Yeah.
Like Popeye eating his spinach every time.
Dude, that's it. Like his hands are Popeye's hands. It's like Biggie Boy, man. You don't forget again, I got to shake Biggie Boy's hand 3 times in Perth, and the last one was the worst. Like a tattoo almost at that point in time. It's like, Biggie Boy, enough, dude. I feel it in my fucking elbow. But yeah, man, you're right. It's fucking Popeye, dude. That's the perfect nickname, as you often have the right thing to say.
Well, it's like, the old saying, everyone has a game plan till you get punched in the face. I feel like Dricus doesn't remember his game plan until he gets punched in the face. Then he's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna be me now. I'm gonna be a charging rhino.
RJ Clifford with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. So, in terms of who might be next for Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, not an obvious name on the tip of my tongue. We've talked a lot about this today. I know you had some interesting thoughts on this in terms of a name that maybe is a little bit more out there than some of the obvious choices. So
Bruce obviously has some ideas. Shut up. Wife let the dog in. It's a very, very hard one, right? Because the guy's had 12 consecutive title fights. Can you imagine him just getting thrown back into Gen Pop and having to work his way back up?
Bro, sorry to cut you off. So Ken Flo earlier made the mistake of suggesting Jack Hermanson.
It's my worst moment in podcast history.
As you were.
I'm sure Jack is excited about it. Right,
exactly. He listens every week, but Jesus fucking Christ.
I've heard the name Bo Nickel thrown around, and I like that name because you've got Bo, who's obviously so young in his career, and he has a chance to beat a big name and really catapult himself up into the upper echelon of the division. And if he loses, he's just getting started. He can always come back around, right? I think Izzy's at the point of his career, and at 35 years old, look, I'm a big believer in that, like the young eat the old in combat sports. And as you get up there in age, it is your job, it is your responsibility, dare I say, to fight the young up-and-comers, and either they beat you and I kill you, I become you, or you send them back packing, and you've proven that you're still top of the mountain. I think that's where Israel Adesanya has to be right now. It's got to be a young guy, right? It's got to be like a sexy name like that. I can see him like co-main eventing a pay-per-view in a match of that. I just can't see him fighting a Mavov or just like a Gen Pop matchup.
Right.
Maybe
he named a guy who's not even in the top 15, and we're like cool with that. Is that what we're doing right
Well,
now?
so it's interesting, and we had a long-winded conversation about this, the relative sexiness of Bo Nickel as a name, or Khamzat Chimaev if he's not immediately in a championship setting because of Sean Strickland. You can certainly do worse than having a rematch between Duplessis and Strickland, and then also having Izzy on that card against Chimaev. I know it's ambitious when you talk about like a competition cycle, but Izzy's not going to just sit around, right? He just sat for a year. So the Bo Nickel, I paused when RJ said it, but I actually think there's actually some meat on the bone, and I think Dana White and Hunter Campbell would probably be a little bit intrigued.
Well, I'm still very intrigued by the trilogy with Alex Bejeda. I think that has to buy. Before either one of them retire, I think that needs to happen. Obviously, Alex's options have really opened up. Take on Khalil Roundtree. He's obviously got his hands full. But if they would just book Magomed Ankalaev in the title fight that he deserves to be in, he will beat Alex Bejeda, and then we can do that trilogy with Alex and Izzy, and then all problems are solved, and everyone has their matchups. But I don't know. Those matchmakers have different ideas than me.
Yeah. And Alexander Rakic, another P1 Anik and Florian podcast listener. So be careful because he's fighting Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 308. RJ Clifford with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. So Dan Hooker, Mateusz Gamrot. So obviously, and if you don't know, RJ, tremendous content provider on the MMA side. He works dutifully for the UFC. So where are you for Mateusz Gamrot, Dan Hooker, and what exactly does your Sunday morning hold at that point in time?
So a big fan of Mateusz Gamrot, and he was in a really tough place where like he beat Arman Sarukian, and Arman's, it seems like he's going to get the title shot, and he's kind of, the one loss to Beneil Dariush, and he just kind of keeps getting stuck in these like, keep busy fights. He weighed in as an alternate, and you're like, this poor guy, I can't do it. He's just going to fight Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker goes out there and has the best fight of his life and looked absolutely fantastic beating Gamrot. And I've been not as high on Dan Hooker, obviously as an exciting fighter and as a personality. I think he's great. I think when he got that decision over Paul Felder, I think it catapulted up a little higher up than I think maybe his skill set was ready for at that point in his career. But he looked great against Gamrot, and what a revitalization of the career for a fan favorite like Dan Hooker. And Gamrot was the big conversation coming in is I think Gamrot's kind of, I'm not taking away the win from Dan Hooker, but I think Gamrot was looking at this like, I have to start being exciting if I'm going to be in title contention because I keep winning and it's not doing anything for me. And I think he kind of let that dictate a little bit of his style. And that was certainly something that Dan Hooker, if you want to fight that way with Dan Hooker, you are playing with fire.
Well, dude, and I don't know if you heard me on broadcast, but Mateusz comes right over to the broadcast booth and just starts screaming like boring this, and I couldn't exactly pick up what he was saying. And here I'm thinking, it's like, hey, dude, that was exciting as fuck, but I think you lost, I know some people thought Mateusz Gamrot won the fight, but yeah, just a tremendous weekend overall. So how was the trip back for you from Perth, WA? Okay.
I've mastered the art of putting myself in a coma on these long flights. You stay awake as long as possible, right? You get your blood alcohol level exactly where you want it.
Right.
I saved those global upgrades for the Australia trip. So I landed around 6 a.m. I was on the radio at 9 a.m. Just a couple hours later. And I was able to stay awake all last night or yesterday to be able to fall asleep now. So it's taken a lot of brain cells away from me, I'm assuming. But it's got me on air when I need to be.
So if people want to ingest your content, and I know football season is coming up, so there's got to be some autumn windbags or some Vegas Raiders stuff coming up. What can you tell us about your MMA and NFL content and all that before we let you fly?
Yeah, I'm on Sirius XM Radio, MMA Fight Nation, along with our boys, Dean Thomas, Anthony Smith, Alan Joe Ban. They're all on that channel. Check it out, channel 156, Twitter, and Instagram, as always, at RJ Clifford MMA. And then the autumn win bags. Football,
Yes,
just around the corner. College ball starts this weekend, John.
amazing.
Real football. It's been just like football, like substances, like preseason and merged practices, but it's actual tangible football. Amazing. That's why I kept repeating my Mike Allstott reference when talking about Dricus du Plessis, because football is around the corner.
Yeah. Much more tangible than Dricus du Plessis' success or style, right? But still getting it done.
And Dricus didn't fumble, like Allstott.
There you go. RJ Clifford. Hey, thank you, buddy. Appreciate the time. I know you're a busy man. We'll talk soon.
Always got time for you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
RJ.
Randall Clifford, RJ Clifford with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. So we have not uttered the name Kai Kara France. We have not talked to you about Dan Hooker and Mateusz Gamrot. It's a little more respect for the t-shirt. Don't hunt what you can't kill. This Dan Hooker cat, man, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to watch for me, the progression of human being. If I'm not mistaken, Kenny, and maybe I am, you called his UFC debut in Auckland in 2014. Perhaps you didn't. I've never been to Auckland myself. It sounds like you were not there for that debut.
I called his fight against Hatsuhiyuki. I remember that.
Okay.
That is
but dude, what were your thoughts on his performance and overall, what do you think about this new look Dan Hooker in more ways than one?
I loved his performance. He's a guy that's going to fight to the very end. I'm not sure I had him winning the fight. It was close. Definitely could have gone either way. I don't have a problem with the decision. I thought Gamrot was going to get the nod based on the first 2 rounds. But as far as who was really trying to finish the fight throughout, I think that guy was Dan Hooker. That's his style, right?
Yeah.
Always entertaining. I thought that he did way better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
And because of that, it just made it that much more impressive, especially given the fact of how he was able to turn the tide through some of those rounds where, it wasn't going so well for him. And then he came back and was like, I'm going to kill you. And it riled up the fans. It looked awesome. He's always bleeding at the end of a fight, it seems, and just knows how to deliver an action-packed fight. So because of that, I thought it was an amazing performance. But I did think Gamrot was going to get the nod. And I think that, there's a lot of truth to what RJ was talking about. I think him trying to be exciting and also maybe going a little too hard unnecessarily. I think he was trying to look for a lot of ground and pound when it wasn't necessary. He didn't quite have the positioning that he needed to. And that's what you need to do against Hooker. You cannot let him come back to life, and you need to drain him of his energy. You need to drain him of his positioning, and allowing Hooker to get back to his feet. You're asking for trouble. And I think that's what Gamrot did. And, ended up not being such a great result because of that.
Yeah. Gamrot definitely realized success with his striking. I thought in some part he hadn't ever looked better when it came to his hands. And I think it's tricky, right? A guy like that, when you have such a clear path of least resistance, that you sometimes wonder, how would I fare in a straight kickboxing match against Dan Hooker? Like, I think I could fucking beat this guy, but I thought it was a close fight. Very surprised that our producer Cody Merrill put his job on the line with some of those Mateusz Gamrot tweets, incidentally, over the weekend, but doesn't sound like you were, while you believe Gamrot won, you were as put off by the split decision as Ken Flo. Or as Cody, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it was close. It was close. So don't have a huge problem. I was crazy surprised. Let's put it that way.
Not close. Kai Kara France against Steve Erceg. The knockout comes at 4:04 of round 1. What do you have for us on that?
Okay. So 2 things. I think that given the early nature of Erceg's career, I maybe gave him a little bit too much credit. Given the recent results of Kai Kara France, I don't think I gave him enough credit. And I think that perhaps Erceg maybe underestimated Kai Kara France as well. And clearly he is not someone that you can do that to. He came in riled up. You could see he wanted to go out there, not only win, but he wanted to make a statement. Erceg perhaps a little bit too relaxed and caught him slipping, man. Kai Kara France, he is a knockout artist in that weight. And you cannot forget about that, and his ability to get on the inside and land those shots and follow up and have that killer instinct and execute. Props to Kai Kara France, man. That was awesome.
I think he's going to be next for Alexandre Pantoja. I wouldn't be surprised to see that be your co-headliner maybe for the December pay-per-view.
I agree.
When I look at the flyweight rankings, I look at the close nature of Kai's fight against Amir Albazi. I think he very well might be next. And, when it comes to some of the guys in this region, Jack Della Maddalena, Kai Kara-France, got an entire region behind you, and that really plays a role, It'd be a big deal if either one of those guys could potentially become a champion, not unlike it would have been for Steve Erceg. But it's interesting. Steve Erceg has asked a lot of himself in 2024. And I will say for these WA athletes, the Western Australia athletes, whenever they have to travel, it's just a huge deal. The guy comes to Vegas to fight Matt Schnell, goes home, eats a Twinkie, flies to Brazil to fight Alexandre Pantoja. It's hard to get from Perth to Brazil and then right back into camp to fight on the Perth show at home against Kai Kara-France. And again, I don't want to take away from Kai, but I think a reset would be useful for Steve Erceg. He's still on the right side of 30, but Kai's a really good guy, very thoughtful fighter, very hardworking fighter, and I feel very good for him. And nice for a guy like Kai who has accrued all of this experience to be reaping the rewards. It's pretty impressive. Bonus winners: Kai Kara-France, Carlos Prates, fight of the night, Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. Carlos, the Nightmare Prates. What a week for him. This was his birthday. His daughter is Australian. She is 4. And out of respect, I didn't take a video of him and his daughter playing after the win in the lobby, but it was the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen. And, makes me want to smoke a cigarette with this guy, Kenny. Makes me want to watch him fight Michael Venom Page. What do you have for us on the Nightmare? Carlos Prates, making it, I think, 10 straight wins, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was a nightmare for the league. There's no question about that. Get me on the train. I was really impressed by him, man. He now needs, tougher competition. He's ready for it. He's really coming into his own, a nasty striker, really good length for the division, putting it all together. Early on in his career, when I was watching him and I was researching a lot of his fights, he was mainly kind of a kicker, a really dangerous the knees, good in the clinch, stuff like that. But now has really added in some really good punching combinations into his game. And he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys, man. Really cool.
So I think they may do Michael Venom Page, Carlos Prates.
Ooh.
Yeah. And seems like there's some rumblings for Dan Hooker against Charles Oliveira. I know he has maybe called for Arman Sarukyan, who's the number 1 contender. Yeah, Charles Oliveira, Dan Hooker sounds like a lot of fun,
Oh, I like that.
Congrats to Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Tough pill to swallow for Taito Ivasa, but Suriname's Jairzinho, man, decorated kickboxer, but just continuing to work and to, be disciplined in fight in MMA and just continuing to win fights. We congratulate him. We congratulate a lot of the other preliminary winners. Jack Jenkins back in a big way. Casey O'Neill, shout out to her. Anik and Florian podcast listener, big win for her. Close fight between Hikaru Ramos and Joshua Kulabau. By the way, the beer chugging tournament is in the works, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully Happy Dad wants to be on board if you're listening. But basically, Josh Kulabau and Dricus du Plessis will be the team captains, and they will each be picking a team of UFC fighters, and we will be timing these individuals drinking beer as quickly as they can. I am amazed by UFC athletes in so many different capacities, but their ability, some of them to, open their throats, so to speak, and just pour a fucking whole cold beer down it is pretty impressive. Tom Brady, incidentally, very talented in that regard as well, but that is in the works. A lot of people thought Kulabau won. Forgettable night overall for the scorecards. Nice to see that judge. I think Howie Booth relieved of his duties. And one thing on that really quickly, the UFC maybe can suggest something, but it's entirely up to the commission. So shout out to whoever was in charge, understanding that judge needed to be removed for the rest of the night. Anything else, Kenny, on UFC 305 that is a pressing issue before we spin this pig forward?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Yeah, solid night though.
Well, I just want to say to everybody in Perth for making the fighters and commentators feel like $1 million all week long. Thank you very much. I had an appearance at the after party and just interacting with those people and taking pictures, and people have the nicest fucking things to say to my fat face, So I thank you all for that. And I don't know if I'll be back in WA from Miami. I don't know how good it is for my physical health. I've done that trip 3 times and, it's insane, but it's worth it every time because of the people in this great sport. Also, a shout out to Bloomington, Illinois' Cam Jane. He wins our UFC 305 pay-per-view open contest. Thanks to everybody who submitted entries. Kenny, we had over 250 submissions. people who sent in pay-per-view opens, and I rifled through all of them as best I could. It became a huge exercise just trying to read all of them, but Cam Jane, young man, wins it, and we'll be sending him a package of merchandise and other things, some fight use fighter cards as well. And no, he didn't write the word skosh in the pay-per-view open, as my producer Zach Candido asked, but we did work with the copy a little bit, and a lot of you thematically had that African roots thing, so we went with that, and hopefully it was up to muster. I will say, though, I really wanted to make sure I delivered that one cleanly because Cam Jane had written it, so thankfully we did not have a flub. All right, speaking of a guy who never flubs, let's go three wide. Welcome on Brian Petrie. Dricus Popeye Duplessis. I think it's a better nickname than Still Knox. What's up, BP?
Hey, Johnny, how you doing, bud?
How about Dricus Popeye?
How about DDP? But how are you feeling? You went across the world.
Well, I look like, a cat shit in my mouth probably, but we're doing the best we can, Okay. What do you make of Dricus Popeye Duplessis, huh?
Unbelievable. You're gonna have to kill the guy. He was losing the fight till he won it. He was getting worked out.
Was he though?
I thought he was.
We all did, except for two of the three judges,
I thought in the fourth round he was getting worked on the feet. I thought Izzy was finally finding his rhythm. In Duplessis, he always kind of looks tired, but he looked a little more tired. The body work was coming in on Izzy, and all that was paying dividends. And then all of a sudden he lands like a weird left. The ending was really surprising to me how it happened. But yeah, the guy, you got to kill the guy. He's not going to tap. You're going to have to separate him from consciences, which has happened once outside the UFC, but I don't know if it's really possible. Just an absolute first-class dude. I love the post-fight stuff with him and Izzy. Yeah. Because it's all good bad blood before the fight, and we want to see that shit. But bearing that and saying classy things about his parents, because Izzy took offense to that and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love the guy. Seriously, became a fan of him. I still don't understand how he wins all these goddamn fights as an analytical mind, but whatever he's doing is working for him, and thoroughly impressed. And I had him and I won. He saved my, I'm still down on the night because of Ursay and Cool About, but DDP saved my night a little bit there.
Yeah, you had $500 on Dricus Duplessis. Are you actively scoring this fight? Do you have anything for us on rounds 1 or 3, or are you just watching this fight in totality?
So I thought Izzy was winning. I thought it was very close, but I think I was texting my buddy or Evan Longoria, and I think
not just anybody, right? The decorated former Major League Baseball player, right?
2-1 Izzy, but it was close. And Evan took on my podcast we did. He took DDP, but he flipped. He's like, I'm having a bad night. I'm going with Izzy, and he was kind of agreeing with me as well. And especially that fourth round where Izzy was finding his hands more than anything, and then it just doesn't matter when it comes to DDP. He'll beat you no matter what. So thoroughly impressed with the guy, and even more impressed with how he handled himself after the fight.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm glad you put some shine on that because we didn't necessarily. And I do believe that Duplessis in that press conference moment, as I sat there when Izzy sort of pointed at him with eyes filled, "You don't know my story." Mm-hmm. I do believe in part Duplessis was feeling a little bit of regret, sure. He's really just a really good dude. And I don't feel like he necessarily occupied any space in Izzy's head or the emotions were bad. I just think Dricus Duplessis is a real problem as a mixed martial artist,
Yeah.
And with respect to Evan Longoria, Aaron Rodgers is actually my favorite person to message about the UFC right now. I like him more than Tom Brady now. So
that's a big Aaron Rodgers. That big of a fan, huh?
Huge.
Wow.
Huge fan.
Okay, good. For Aaron Rodgers.
I tried to talk to him about the NFL. He just wants to talk about his.
Aaron Rodgers wasn't watching ADCC this weekend. I'll tell you that right now. Evan Longoria was.
That's
right.
He consumes more combat sports than anyone in the game right now.
Yeah.
I will die on this hill, John Anik.
He said you crushed it. So
I don't know. But
yeah. Kenny always crosses it. What else? No.
All right, we're gonna spin this pig forward. It's UFC Fight Night, Cannoneer versus BORRALHO. Mm-hmm. We do have a pronunciation of the week, Bri. This man competes in the UFC's lightweight division, commanded by Islam Makhachev. Slava Claus is the nickname, represents Team Alpha, formerly known as Team Alpha Male. Both names could provide some challenge. Yeah. Perhaps we can, we're live. We're not going to font this, but
sure.
It's spelled Viache, Slav, S-L-A-V. And then the last name is spelled B-O-R-S-H-C-H-E-V. Brian Petrie, care to give it a shot?
I mean, I wish I could pass because this has been I've been struggling with this in my head all morning. Vyacheslav Borshev is what I got, Johnny. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Cody, track it.
Vyacheslav Борщев. Vyacheslav Борщев.
That's tough. That's tough.
Just like it's spelled, bro. I don't know why you had a problem with that
That's
one.
tough for me.
I've listened to that file probably 150 times in my life. Is it Barshov? It's a tough one, Bri.
He says it
Circle
fast
does
at the end.
not
I
get
can't
the
understand.
square.
I don't know which way it goes.
All right,
That's
so
tough.
we got 5 picks today.
Yeah.
Hey, Cody, is your mic hot or no?
It's always hot.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious about this Dennis Bazookia cat. Is he still Team Sarah Longo? His UFC bio suggests as much. He's still trained with those guys. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you know these airwaves have offered up a lot of support to Dennis. But obviously Longo's in Aruba and not with him in Las Vegas.
Well, I mean, Ray Longo does what Ray Longo wants to do. But no, I believe Dennis Longo, you're always Team Longo if you're Team
Dennis
Longo.
Longo?
I believe he has moved to Miami. And so I think he's training in Florida, South Florida, somewhere around there.
All right. Thanks, Cody. We're going to pick this fight, Bri. It's the featured prelim at featherweight. Danny Silva minus 245. The aforementioned Dennis Bazookia plus 200. So Bazookia, 26 years of age, coming off the stoppage win over Connor Matthews back in March. First win in the UFC, Bri. Good strength of schedule for him thus far. Now he draws Danny Silva, Santa Ana, California zone, 27. He trains under Killer Cup Swanson and Marco Huas. And he's coming off a split over Josh Coolabah back in March. BP, who do you have for us in the featured prelim at 145?
I'm glad we're picking this fight. This might be fight of the night. I mean, both these guys go after it. And I don't know if Dennis is with Longo, without Longo. He's a gamer no matter what, though. I mean, his last fight, he looked good. He looked good against Connor Matthews, but that's not the biggest name in the world. Before that, he looked extremely flat and got slept by Jamal Emmers. And then obviously the weight cut situation with Woodson. My problem with Bazookia is when he fights, he just doesn't.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Danny Silva is out of Saturday's fight versus Dennis Bazookia. Multiple sources confirm the promotion is seeking a replacement. That from Nolan King, MMA _King.
All right. Well, I'll say that.
I just felt like we should do that because I don't know that that's ever happened before.
No, I love the breaking news. I was going to go with Danny Silva, but now I can't. So we'll see who Bazookia gets. But maybe I'll pick Dennis. But yeah,
Kenny, save your bullets. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. That's it.
All right, that brings us to the main card for UFC Fight Night. Cannoneer versus BORRALHO. Pretty good card. Sneaky big fight here at middleweight. Edmund Shabazian minus 325. Gerald Meerschaert plus 260. Kenny, we'll start with you here. Shabazian's story well documented. Comes into the UFC guns blazing. 4-0 first year on the roster after he knocked out Brad Tavares at Madison Square Garden. Then humbled a little bit, 3 straight losses, but he is back now in a big way, training under Dewey Cooper there in Vegas. He's won 2 of 3. And now this GM3 challenge that seemingly every middleweight at one point in time in the UFC has to pass. So what do you have for us on this one, Ken Flo? Shabazian the favorite or Meerschaert the dog?
Yeah. Okay. So Shabazian has come into his own now. He's looking way, way better. I think that he's going to certainly be the better, more dangerous striker. He has had a tendency early on in his career of losing focus a little bit, even when he's doing extremely well. So, you know, that I think, you know, his conditioning was a question mark in early on in his career, I think, but I do think he's found way more consistency, and I do think he'll respect Gerald Meerschaert enough. However, Meerschaert, he does have the skills to give Edmund a really tough time. Why? Because he has some solid takedowns, and he definitely will be the far superior grappler. He can submit Shabazian. There's no question about that. So while I think there's some, you know, he could be the kryptonite to Shabazian, I think that Shabazian at this point is seasoned enough to get the win here. So I'm leaning towards Edmund Shabazian in this one.
Gerald Meerschaert, a very respectable 11-9 in the UFC, Bri, especially given his schedule. Among his 9 UFC losses, Khamzat Chimaev, Kevin Holland, Jack Hermanson having a big show, Thiago Santos, Joe Pyfer, 28 career wins by submission for GM3, 10 of those in the UFC. That is 4th all time. Kenny Florian, incidentally, look alive out there, right? Still tied for 8th all time. 13 years after he retired, Kenny Florian, co-host of the Anik and Florian podcast, still tied for 8th all time with 7 UFC submission wins, and somewhat regretful that he wanted to punch a hole through fucking Joe Lozon's head so badly that he didn't try to rear naked choke him, because that would have given him 8. And
he could tap though. No, he didn't.
Didn't Alvin Robinson, wasn't there something there?
Yeah, Alvin Robinson
tapped strikes or something.
Oh yeah.
Brian, Edmund Shabazian or Gerald Meerschaert for you?
Yeah, the Alvin Robinson fight was interesting. That was a post-lim. That was after everything.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Look at Brian.
Yeah, I remember that very vividly. Listen, Gerald Meerschaert at plus money is like Kenny walking by a Porsche. It's like Johnny walking by some devil lettuce, right? You gotta have it, baby. I love Gerald Meerschaert in this fight, plus 260. That's
what
a great
do you call
number.
him though? I mean, what are you calling him?
He's calling him Meerschaert.
He's like Muskrat or something.
Hold on,
Meerschaert. Like I just started.
I do have an affliction with marbles in my mouth. I did say Gerald Meerschaert, and then I'm just gonna shorten it to GM3. Big Gerald. He gave me a follow on the old Twitter machine because I said his last time out when he fought, he had a mustache. I said Gerald Meerschaert's mustache just got me pregnant. I got a follow from the big man from that because that mustache is strong. He's strong in this spot as well. Edmund Shabazian, yes, he's 27, but guys, moving to Vegas was a good move for him, but he's still really inconsistent. He hasn't fought a vet like Gerald. Gerald's going to be okay on the feet. It's the big power that really gets Gerald out of his comfort zone. You know, Joe Pyfer's an explosive guy. Shabazian has power, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's like this explosive guy. He puts combinations together well. I think GM3 is going to handle him well on the feet. I think we're looking at a second or third round submission. Quite confident in the spot here. Plus 260 blew my mind. I've already put my own real money on it. I'm probably going to put some money on and place our bets. Little tease. Give me GM3, baby, because he's all fucking man.
Nicely done, Brian. We're going to go right back to you on the welterweights here, and the number just keeps getting bigger next to the name of Ecuadorian prodigy Michael Morales, minus 850, taking on Neil Magny, plus 575. So minus 700 was Morales when I first sent you guys the odds. He's still just 25 years of age, 4-0 in the UFC after a win over Jake Matthews last November. Has not competed yet in 2024, but he has spent some time in Chicago with the new UFC champion. Mike Valley as well alongside in Chicago. Now, Morales, a massive favorite, Bri, to take Neil Magny's number 12 ranking. Your thoughts on this one?
Neil Magny can't get no respect. He goes out there and beats Mike Vallada as a big underdog. No one giving him respect. Are we going to kick the tires on Neil Magny? I am not. I am not going to kick the tires on Neil Magny. Listen, Michael Morales is a guy who I think could be put up with the guys like Shavkat, Ian Gary, and Three Name Jack. I think he can be put up there. He just hasn't done it yet. He has the skills to be with those guys, but he just hasn't. He hasn't fought enough. You know, his personality hasn't shined through yet, so he's on the back burner. But I think he's that skilled where he can compete with those guys. At 25 years old, this guy is, he's a freak. I mean, his back, I've said it before, it's like a bag of ropes. This guy's back is enormous. And he's good everywhere, and he's getting better. Neil Magny's a tricky guy because Neil Magny's a long guy. Yeah, he can keep you on the outside of this. Yeah, but he likes to fight on the inside. He likes to clinch with you, fuck you up against the cage. You know, that's kind of weird for a guy so long as Neil, but he's been doing it forever. He doesn't get tired. It's a strong, sturdy test for anyone at 170. If you're Morales, I love a finish here. You're this big of a favorite. You're going out there. Not many people finish Neil Magny. Go out there and prioritize a finish. I like Morales in the spot here. I think he's going to win. The number is enormous. Not sure how you're going to play this. I think the only way you can play this is if you're on the Neil Magny side. Maybe Morales by finish, but Vegas is onto that now. You know, Vegas has been setting finish props for highly touted guys pretty out of whack. So I don't know. I'm going to take Morales. So
Kenny, Neil Magny's got 32 UFC fights. Any idea how many of those he has won?
No.
22.
Yeah.
22-10. He just turned 37.
Yep.
Still winning fights at a high level. Obviously, the big upset of Mike Bilotti. He's won 2 of 3, 3 of 5. Thought you could have bonused him for the Mike Malott win at UFC 297. Last 3 losses, Kenny for Neil Magny, Ian Machado, Gary, Gilbert Durino, Burns, Shavkat, Rachmanov. The stiff tests keep on coming. And Magny forces a lot of bettors to rip up tickets. Perhaps more of that this weekend. What are your thoughts on this one? Big spread.
It's interesting, right? Well, Morales he's young, he's extremely talented, and to make matters worse, every time I see him fight, he's better.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a guy to watch in this division. There's no question about it. Magny, though, he's as tough as old leather, man. And, I think he's got to be careful early on in this fight because he just has a tendency of being a little bit of a slow starter. Once Magny gets into his rhythm, though, and if you allow him into a fight, he can spoil your party for sure. And Brian is onto it. I mean, especially from the clinch, he can take you down, rough you up, slow things down for you. That's what he's got to do here against Morales. I just don't think he can overcome the physicality of Morales, though. Morales is a crazy athlete. Like just the way that he moves, he does everything really, really well. And I don't see his train being stopped at this stage of the game. I like Morales here.
Ropes in his fucking back.
Yeah, dude. I like that. I like that.
Co-main event, essentially a pick 'em right now on DraftKings Sportsbook in the strawweight division. Tabitha Baby Shark Ricci -112, Angela Overkill Hill -108. Bry 12-13 in the UFC for Ange, but she has won 4 of 5, and I think that UFC record is a little bit disingenuous in terms of how she has performed. On the other side, Ricci just sort of getting going in the UFC. Nice 5-2 start for her. What do you have for us on the co-main event, BP?
Yeah, Angela motherfucking Hill is what I call her. And you asked me last week, the week prior to that, who my favorite fighter was. I should have said Angela Hill because she truly is. I mean, she's so great on the microphone.
Dan Hooker.
Yeah, Dan Hooker. I mean, he's unbelievable as well. But she's fantastic out of the cage as well. She's funny. She's in all this stuff. And then she's in the cage and she's a fucking badass. And she's getting better. I know she's a little, we don't talk about women's ages around here. We just don't do it.
How old is she?
Late 30s.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I think she might be my age, maybe a little older than me. Either way, doesn't matter because it's not impacting her performances. She's coming off a submission win, which has really knocked her, plagued her in the past. She has looked good off her back when she gets taken down. She has been able to stop takedowns. Tabitha Ricci fights a lot like Tisha Torres / Tisa Pennington, excuse me. Yeah, that's who she fought her last time out when I thought she lost the fight. The judges gave it to her, but she's very similar to that. Puts combinations together, kind of bull rushes you in, looks for a takedown, but doesn't have much to offer when it comes to submissions. I think Angela Hill is going to piece her up on the feet. I think Angela Hill is going to be okay on the ground. As long as we get Angela Hill, who is urgent to get up and throwing up a couple legs, throwing up some submissions to keep Ricci on her toes, and Angela Hill keeps working her feet. She doesn't get tired. Her elbows in the clinch, her knees are nasty. I like Angela motherfucking Hill in this spot as well. I love the pick'em number.
Yeah.
I'm either going to make a lot of money or I'm going to be very upset because my favorite fighter lost.
So on a UFC tail of the tape, if a fighter is exactly 40 years of age, you might hear me say he's a man, he's 40.
Yeah.
It's a nod to Oklahoma State football coach Mike Gundy, who once got the defense of his players and said, come at me, I'm a man, I'm 40. Now, I would never say she's a woman, she's 40. It might be like a custody battle type thing. But Kenny, how old do you think Angela Hill is?
I'm not sure. 37?
40 in January.
Yeah. Oh, look at her. Yeah, she looks great.
Yeah,
but I can understand why BP sees some value there, -108. She's still getting better. Appetite for mixed martial arts knowledge and hard work and improvement is there. What do you make of this pretty intriguing, at least on paper, co-main event?
Okay, this is the hardest fight for me to pick, and it's also the most intriguing for me from a value perspective of where I can make the most amount of money. So if I can, I would like to hold my pick till the very end because I am going to bet big on that fight.
Outstanding.
Yeah, so Ricci, I think, has made big improvements, and it was a close one against Tisha Pennington. It definitely was, but I thought that she showed good resilience in that fight. I thought she showed improved striking in that fight. I think she has an interesting background just based on the fact that she does come from that judo background, also good in Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well, trains with a good team, seems to come in very well prepared. So she's showing improvements, and she's definitely having a lot of consistency in the UFC. Now, Angela Hill is someone that really can spoil the party as well. She is very good everywhere. She has a style that is very unusual and tough to defeat. The takedown game that she's shown in her improvement is significant. You know, her submission improvement is significant. Trains with a great team herself down in Southern California as well. A little bit more south in San Diego, but and what's most interesting and what's most confusing is the fact that Ricci tends to start quickly and slows down at the end of the fight a little bit. Angela, slow to start, finishes stronger as the fight goes. So I have gone back and forth in this one, but I am determined to try to come back. And I kind of just have to, like, you know, let the balls hang a little bit.
I love it.
I was a little confused. We'll see what happens. Right. But there we go. We can move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you're taking a shot, obviously, because of the price, you know?
Yes.
If I'm in your position, I might be going like, you know, $1,000 on like Kaio or something. But anyway, that does bring us to the main event. Or you could go Cannoneer. Caio Borralho, rising middleweight contender, minus 218. The Killer Gorilla Jared Cannonier, plus 180. So the judo player Borralho, 16-1, 6-0 in the UFC, Bri. He's won 13 in a row. Last win by knockout over Paul Berju Craig, UFC 301 in May. Fighting Nerds, Kenny, is it Sao Luis Maranhão?
I believe so. Yes.
The guy can do it all, though, Bri, can he? Right? Caio Borralho, and now getting a shot at the credentialed former world title challenger, the Killer Gorilla Jared Cannonier, in the main event. 25-foot octagon there at the Apex BP. Who do you like?
Man, this is a tough one to pick, you know, because Cannonier is not an easy matchup for a lot of people, but I feel like he might be coming back a little too soon. I mean, he kind of got put in potholes and, you know, was stepping with the lights off against, you know, his last time out against Nasruddin, you know, and I know it was an early stoppage, whatever, but he got rocked in that fight. And that was in June. And he's an older guy, and I think maybe he's a little angry about that. He's coming back. He's fit as a fiddle, right? I mean, the guy is in shape, jacked to the tits. But listen, I'm first to always cheerlead my own self when I see a fighter who makes it big or is really good. And I go, hey, listen, I was on that guy, you know, whatever. But I'm also the one to tell you that I miss some people. And Caio Borralho, how you say his last name, John? Give me one.
Not like that. Not fucking like that.
Give me one.
Caio Borralho. Previously featured on the pronunciation of the week. Sounds like a fucking boss on the file, just like he fights.
Yeah. He surprises me. He was on the Contender Series twice before they gave him a contract.
That's right.
And then he's just rattling off wins, and he's looking better each time. And those fight nerds down there, that camp down there is something special right now. They got some special sauce brewing down there. And I was all set to take Cannonier at the plus money. I'm a plus money dog. I'm hungry, right? But then I really sat back and I look at this, and I think Kai is just that much better everywhere than Cannonier at this point. Cannonier, age is going to catch up to him at some point. I know he's 40. He's a man. He's 41 maybe. But I just don't like the way he fought his last time out. He's slow. He's never been the fastest guy, but he was a little bit slower. His reactive muscles and his fast switch was a little bit slower. I'm really curious to see how Kai's going to approach this. Is he going to take the fight to the ground? Because if he does, he dominates, I think. Or is he going to play it out on the feet? He's beat some really good guys. I mean, you walk through Paul Craig, you know, that's a good step up for you. Give me the fight nerd. I had a pair of glasses I put on because, you know, I like props and stuff.
Where are they?
My kids probably took them. They're probably wearing them right now.
So they only get that on the MMA Takes podcast featuring Evan Longoria, but here they don't get the fucking glasses.
You want the glasses? You want the glasses bit? Yeah. You want the fucking, you know, the carrot top prop comic bit? Yeah. Come to MMA Takes podcast.
I mean, we're just trying to drive this show, trying to get nominated for awards, but that's exclusive to the MMA Takes podcast. All right. So, Kenny, I said Gerald Meerschaert was 11-9 in the UFC, right? 55% winning percentage, good strength of schedule. So, Jared Cannonier's UFC winning percentage, right? You'd imagine it's higher, but any idea, guys, right? I mean, he's fought for the belt. He's fought all the best middleweights in the world, but he's 58%, you know, 10-7 in the UFC, not that much better than Gerald Meerschaert, right? Maybe not a great comp, but it just shows you, you know, how hard it is to win a singular fight in the UFC. You mentioned the Amavov fight 2 months ago in Louisville. I don't know if it's too soon here, but there's a plus 180 number next to Jared Cannonier's name, Kenny. I don't know if that intrigues you or if you like the Brazilian, but we'll need a main event selection.
You can get one. This is a very interesting fight. I think that first of all, I'm a fan of Caio Borralho. I think that he is a very, very good fighter. This might be a little bit too early, especially given the fact that it's a main event. If it was a 3-rounder, I would probably be leaning towards Borralho. Now, because it's a 5-rounder, we can't forget, and again, it was a close one. Cannonier beat Strickland in a 5-rounder. He's beaten a lot of guys in 5-rounders. You cannot discount the experience of someone like Cannonier. I would also say that Cannonier is not Paul Craig. No disrespect to Craig, but he doesn't have that. Still has a good chin. And I also think that Borralho is not Imavov. Imavov is a very, very good fighter that needs to be way more respected at 185. His last performance against Cannonier impressed the hell out of me. To me, it shows that he knows what kind of fighter he is now. And I think he's going to give a lot of people trouble. That I can guarantee. So I think it's kind of juicy. It's juicy for a couple different reasons. First of all, I need some goddamn points here against Brian Petrie. So I like Cannonier here. I think his experience, could really pose some problems for Borralho. I think it will be close either way, whether Borralho wins or not. If Borralho finishes him, it would probably be on the ground, but who knows? I'd like to see a little bit more out of Borralho. And I just don't think he's faced the best competition for me to go in there with such confidence, given the odds. So give me Cannonier here.
All right, Ken Flo Van Halen t-shirt likes Jared Cannonier plus 180 in the main event coming up this Saturday on ESPN. All right, place your bets. Brought to you by johnanik.com, where you can get 15% off your entire order with promo code NOCHE. At least that will work by the end of the day, right, Jay? I think Jay's in like a real estate class right now, but NOCHE will be the promo code for our UFC 306 NOCHE UFC. One more sleep merchandise, all the Anik and Florian podcast merchandise. Shout out to artist Joe Romero for the outstanding work on that Mexican-themed Una Dormida Mas design. One sleep more. All right, Bri, we're going to update the standings right now.
Do it.
After UFC 305, Duplessis versus Adesanya. So Team Petrie was at plus 764.10 for the year, minus 244.81 on the week. You did hit for 500 straight on Dricus Duplessis. Straight wager whack on Carlos Prates as well. But you did give a G back on your bets on Steve Erceg, Josh Kulabau, and Tai Tuivasa with the knockout prop there. So year to date, plus 519.29.
Yep.
Team Florian was at minus 504.16. And you lose your entire $2,000 straight wagers on Josh Kulabau, Mateusz Gamrot, Steve Erceg, and Israel Adesanya. So Ken Flo falls back to minus 2504.16. Petrie's lead, a 2024 high, $3,023. Excuse me, 3023 and 45 cents. $1,000 each of you for your UFC Fight Night wagers. And code BULLY, by the way, all of Bilal Muhammad's merchandise is available as well at johnanik.com, and they will add NOCHE, which is NOCHE. Thank you, Jay. But code BULLY right now for 15% off all the new championship designs at johnanik.com. Brian Petrie, out of respect for Kenny Florian having competed so well in the octagon, thrice fought for the belt, we'll lead with you here. $1,000 for your UFC Fight Night picks. Who do you have?
I thought I should leave first because Kenny with that fucking tease, I don't know what he's going to do. We got to tee that up. This guy knows things. Listen, I'm going to go $400 on Borralho. I can't say his name, guys. Kai Borralho.
Borralho.
It's fucking easy. Borralho, $400.
Nailed it.
Give me that.
So
minus 2.
have you taped your show yet?
No.
What are you going to call him over there?
Listen,
I mean, you keep dropping a hard C in Mershart too, man.
So, Mershart will be easy GM3. That's GM3 over my show.
Okay.
My listeners, which are a lot of listeners from over here, because this show is what gave me listeners,
is robust.
But, they kind of know and they kind of enjoy that I'm just gonna fuck it up, right? So I might refer to them as like the Fight Nerd or something like that. Probably just first name only.
You messed up the name of the team as well. It's the Fighting Nerds, but
the
that's
Fighting
fine.
Nerds. Okay, so I just shit the bed this entire show.
I just having fun with you, buddy.
No, I love it. No, by the way, John, the hat Hoka, are you sponsored by Hoka?
We're working on that.
Okay, because I wear their shoes to work,
Okay.
And, your
What
boy
size?
does a lot of trekking, and man, they're an amazing 12, size 12.
You wear the straight blacks or brown or
straight black.
Okay. Do they have a brown? Ooh, we do straight brown,
Brown
right?
would be all right, but I tell you what, I got those. 'Cause I used to wear boots, and this is uninteresting to anybody, but I got those probably like 6 months ago. Changed my life, dude. They're unbelievable. I'm hustling up steps, you know.
Do you work for the United Parcel Service?
United? Yes, yeah, UPS. Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's right. Go brown.
So yeah, dude. Imagine we get you some brown hokas, bro.
I'll be the only one. A lot of
be tighter
blacks in
than
the
5
building.
virgins
Be
in
the
a
only one.
Volkswagen,
I
right?
love it. But let's
400 on Cayo, Ohio,
right.
as you were.
Sorry for the distraction.
That's
and
my
let's
fault.
go. Listen, I think Kenny's going heavy. Obviously, he's on one of the females. And I don't know if he realizes, but I know chicks. You know, BP knows chicks. So let's go. Angela Hill, minus 108, $300 on Angela Hill. And then we're going with my guy who's a fucking man. GM3, another $300. Just a little three-piece bet. Give me my 1,000. Let's go.
Nicely done, Bri. Ken Flo, $1,000 to play with. Some work to do. What do you have?
Well, I got to go hard or go home. So listen, I'm going to go with $800 on Tabitha Ricci. I think that Ricci, needs to mind her P's and Q's throughout this fight, but especially so late in this fight, because I could definitely see Angela Hill spoiling the party here. She has excellent takedowns, really just very well-rounded game, and tough rhythm to deal with as well. So, but I am going with Tabitha Ricci here because I need some money. Give me money. $800. I'm also going to go with Cannoneer. I think that there's some good value here. I like his experience in 5-round fights. He's not going to be an easy guy to outstrike. He's not going to be an easy guy to take down either. The other question mark for me on BORRALHO is volume at times. And I think that Cannoneer can match or outpace him and steal some rounds there. So that's what I'm hoping for. Let's see what happens.
All right, $200 there on Jared Cannoneer plus 180. Brian Petrie, MMA Takes Podcast at Brian Petrie MMA. Great stuff, buddy. Looking fucking handsome. We'll talk to you next Monday, if not sooner, buddy.
All right, buddy. You guys are the best. See ya.
Thanks, Brian. Brian Petrie with us for the Main Event Challenge. Place your bets, and we got to get on out of here. Thanks to everybody for indulging us live. And thanks to all the Aussies just for rolling out the red carpet, really for the athletes. I can't even tell you what it's like for these fighters to walk out to a press conference and have it be packed to the nines, and everybody cares, and they're all so respectful. It was just a great vibe all week long, and plenty more where that came from next year in the land down under. We are back next Monday, August 26th. We will recap the fight night and spit it forward as only Kenny Florian can. Don't forget johnanik.com for all your merchandise needs, kennyflorian.com as well. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow. Thank you to our guests, Oban Elliott, RJ Clifford, Ray Longo, I love you, Brian Petrie, and everybody else. For Ken Flom, John Anik, we'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, yo fucking later.
All right, how's everybody? Good.